Friday the 13th Part 3 is directed by Steve Miner. This is a thriller mystery horror film. Friday the 13th Part 3 stars Dana Kimmel as Chris Higgins, Paul Kratka as Rick, Tracy Savage as Debbie, Jeffrey Rogers as Andy, Catherine Parks as Vera, Larry Zerner as Shelley, David Cadams as Chuck, Rachel Howard as Chili, and Richard Brooker as Jason Voorhees. This film is rated R for sex, nudity, violence, gore, profanity, alcohol, drugs, smoking, frightening, and intense scenes. This is not a movie for young children or teenagers. I would say 17 years of age and older, but no one below that. This film has a runtime of 1 hour and 35 minutes. Friday the 13th Part 3 was released in theaters in the United States on Friday, August 13th, 1982. First of all, this film is supposed to take place on another Friday the 13th, but in the film, it is the next day, so technically it is Saturday the 14th. After his battle with Jenny and Paul, a severely injured Jason makes it out of his little shack and goes to a lakefront store for a change of clothes and murders the store owners, Harold and his wife Edna. Later, a group of friends travel with Chris Higgins to her old home on the shores of Crystal Lake to spend the weekend. The gang includes pregnant Debbie, her boyfriend Andy, prankster Shelley, his blind date Vera, who unfortunately for Shelley does not show any interest in him, and stoners Chuck and Chili. After running into a man named Abel who warns them to turn back, the gang meets Chris's boyfriend Rick at their destination. Once they all get to their destination, they waste no time in trying to have a good time. Shelley and Vera go for some groceries and stuff at a convenience store that they passed on the way up there. At the convenience store, Shelley and Vera get into a confrontation with bikers Allie, Fox, and Loco. Shelley gets in the car and accidentally knocks down their motorcycles. Allie sees this and stops Shelley by threatening him with a chain and then smashing the windows of the car. Shelley, saying that Allie has gone too far, turns the car around and drives toward him, narrowly missing him but wrecking his bike, impressing Vera. Later, the bikers show up at the lake house where the kids are at, where they take the gas out of the van and attempt to burn the barn down to get even. Jason, who's been hiding in the barn, murders Fox and Loco with a pitchfork before beating Allie unconscious. That night, Chris and Rick take the car that Shelley and Vera used earlier and head out into the woods, where Chris reveals that she was attacked by a deformed man 2 years prior, which prompted her to leave Crystal Lake in the first place. The main reason she returned was to confront her fears and escape the trauma. When Rick's car dies, Chris and Rick are forced to walk back to the house to find it in disarray. Chris goes to check on everyone to see who she can find and to find out why the house is such a wreck. As she does that, Rick steps outside to search the grounds, but Jason grabs him and crushes his skull with his bare hands, making one of his eyes pop out of its socket. Chris finds an overflowing bathtub with bloody clothes soaked in it. She goes outside to find Rick, but he is nowhere to be found, and she finds a hanging dead body of one of the bikers hanging in a tree nearby. She runs back to the house, where she tries to secure herself inside the house until Rick's dead body is flung through the window. Jason then attacks Chris, who narrowly escapes the house and tries to flee in her van. The van runs out of gas, and Chris makes her way to the barn to hide, but Jason attacks her again. Inside the barn, Chris strikes Jason over the head with a shovel and hangs him. He regains consciousness and temporarily removes his mask in order to get free from the noose, which causes Chris to recognize him as the same man who attacked her 2 years prior. A still living Allie tries to attack Jason, but Jason quickly finishes him off. The distraction allows Chris to strike Jason in the head with an axe. He staggers momentarily towards her before finally collapsing. Exhausted Chris pushes a canoe out into the lake and falls asleep. Chris has a nightmare of an unmasked Jason running towards her from the house before disappearing, which then turns into the decomposing body of Pamela Voorhees, with her head attached, emerging from the lake to pull her in. The following morning, the police arrive and escort a traumatized Chris away from Higgins Haven. Jason's body is shown to still be laying in the barn, as the lake is shown at peace. So that's the plot synopsis for the film. Here are my negatives for this film. I don't have very many, but the few I have really drive me nuts. This location where this film takes place looks nothing like the lake we see in the first Friday the 13th film or the lake in Friday the 13th Part 2. It is a lot smaller and it looks more like a pond than it does a lake. Plus, it's very muddy and dirty looking compared to the lakes in the first two films. Let me just say, I would not swim in that muddy, murky, gross, stagnant looking water. I mean, ugh. Debbie, the lady who is pregnant in this film, isn't very smart. She's around her friends who are smoking dope 24/7, inhaling all that smoke, and then later, after she takes a shower, she lights up and smokes some pot herself, plus she asks her boyfriend to get her a beer. Lady, you're putting that baby's health and life in jeopardy. That baby could be born with all sorts of problems due to your stupidity. At the beginning, after a badly injured Jason escapes his shack, he goes to a convenience grocery store for a change of clothes. There, the store owner is going to the bathroom doing his number 2 business. Okay, why is this important in the film? This has nothing to do with the plot of the story. We don't need to see him doing his number 2 business, sitting on the damn toilet. This scene is gross and unnecessary. I mean, we see him on the toilet and they even put the sound effects of him doing his number 2 business in this film. I mean, seriously, just nasty and gross. Before that, we see him eating fish food that is meant for his pet goldfish. Yuck. Then there's this shot of his pet rattlesnake in the cage out in the storage building. That could have been left out of the film. I am like Indiana Jones when it comes to snakes. I hate snakes. The nightmare scene at the end where the dead decomposing body of Mrs. Voorhees jumps out of the water and grabs Chris and pulls her into the water. The dummy or puppet that they used comes up and then literally stops for like 3 or 4 seconds and then grabs Chris. Why the pause? Was that supposed to happen? Or was that a screw up and the editors decided to leave it in the film? Or the director and cinematographer should have at least reshot that scene? Either way, it took me out of the scene for a little bit and it just looks terrible. The character of Shelley. Oh my God. This character drove me absolutely nuts. He is an idiot and pretty stupid as well. The whole movie, I just wanted to beat the living shit out of him for all the dumb and stupid things he does in this film. I was so glad when Jason killed him. So those are all my negatives. Here are my positives. This is the film that turns Jason Voorhees into the iconic killer we know him to be today because this film gives him his iconic hockey mask that we all know and love so much. And he also gets his iconic machete knife in this one as well. I love the music in this film, especially the opening credits and the end credits music. It's like an 80s instrumental electronic synthesizer score. Brilliant choice. The score, once again, was done by Harry Manfredini. Plus, as usual, we get the iconic I didn't like the lake part, but I loved the house and the barn on location settings. This location setting, when the film transitions to the nighttime, is very spooky and scary. It gives you that sense of something or someone could be out there. Especially with the wind blowing, it just gives you that feeling that you're not alone. The howling wind during the nighttime scenes, I mean, it's great. Howling wind can make a film scary, and this film took advantage of the wind and it worked like a charm. I really like this version of Jason because it gets us closer to the huge built iconic Jason we're all used to. I like the version in part 2, but this one is much better, and Richard Brooker as Jason Voorhees did a phenomenal job with the character. This movie has some of the best kills throughout the franchise. Very creative. The practical effects and makeup in this film really give this film a feeling of authenticity. The cinematography is beautifully done. The film uses a simple color scheme and uses mostly greens, browns, and some light grays as well. At the first of the film, at the convenience store, we see the lady who runs the convenience store and takes care of Harold. She is seen watching the news about what happened at Camp Crystal Lake to Jenny and Paul, as Jenny is seen on the TV being put into the ambulance. The TV news anchor mentions that the police chief named Fitzsimmons has no comment on the crime scene. Every time I hear that, I always think of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Leo Fitz and Gemma Simmons from Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Every time I hear like Fitzsimmons together, I just think of those two just because I'm such an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan. Okay, so those are all my positives. Now it's grading time. I'm going to give Friday the 13th Part 3 a B. Here are my final thoughts. I liked this film a lot, but it does have its problems and moments in the film that I wish would have been left out or done better. But it was really good and kept me on my toes. To be honest, I had not seen this one in so long that I had forgotten about it. Whenever I do a ranking video for the Friday the 13th films, this is one that will probably be somewhere up at the top. If you are a lover of horror films and love Jason Voorhees, the character, then you are going to really enjoy this film. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to say good night. God bless. I love all of you, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.
Hey, I dropped your wallet. I'm sorry. I got it. Who are you? What are you doing? Hey, now cut that out right now. That's not funny.